Hello, today I'm going to show you how to create this circle pouch. This one is made with Japanese antique obi, and you can find the DIY kits on my Etsy store. But through this video, I also want to show you an easy way to make it from home if you already have materials you want to use and recycle. I simplified this bag as much as possible, so we're just going to use a circle shape, sewing a zipper and a lining, sewing a bias or piping, which is this 1 centimeter finishing all around the bag, and creating and sewing the strap for the bag. So I'm going to use this Japanese obi for the main fabric. And if you want to recycle any material, just keep in mind that you don't want to have something that's too full of embroideries or something like this. Choose rather something flat because it's not going to get damaged as you wear it. You don't want to use something too thick because your bag is going to be composed of 4 layers. The front of the bag, the part that we'll see, the lining of the front, the back of the bag, and the back lining of the bag. If you want to make the adjustable strap, these are included in the kits that I sell, but again, if you're making it from home, you can easily use metal rings that you will find on key rings or old bras, for example, made of plastic or metal that's about 1 centimeter diameter. Now let's prepare your material. You need, of course, your sewing machine, iron board, and also small materials, some pins, about 30 pins, a chalk or erasable pen to mark on the fabric, small scissors, some fabric scissors, strong fabric scissors, a zipper that's about 20 centimeter. It's better to choose it plastic rather than metal, so we can cut it to the exact size and sew on top of it. An object that's 20 centimeter diameter. You can use a bowl, a plate, and have a ruler that has centimeter and millimeters. And if you also use Japanese obi, you're gonna need to unpick the obi. So I'm gonna do that now. The thread is so old that it breaks easily without damaging your fabric. Otherwise, you can just unpick stitch by stitch. Inside, sometimes you have cotton fabric or unwoven fabric to make it stiff. Can be a few layers. Here I have 2. Anyway, we're not going to use this material for now, but it's very good material to sew. You can wash it in the washing machine and keep it. I'm going to need to iron it to make it flat and nice. Always iron on the inside so you can press hard without risking to damage your fabric. When your fabric is ready, you're going to cut the circle shape. So I'm going to take my bowl and spot if there is any defaults on the fabric. So if you use vintage fabrics, sometimes maybe you might have some moth holes or something a little bit damaged. So just make sure you avoid this when you cut. And also you can decide which part of the pattern you want to be centered in the bag. Just keep in mind that at the end, the bag is going to have this 1 centimeter piping all around, which is going to hide 1 centimeter of the pattern. You take your chalk and trace your circle. I'm gonna cut 2 circles in the same time. So one is for the outer of the bag and one is for the inner. So I'm just gonna place some pins so it doesn't move. So now I'm going to cut the back pieces. Proceed the same as before. Draw your circle. So now we have all the parts we need for the bag. So this is going to be the front part, outside and in. This is going to be the back part, outside and in. So you can keep both front parts away for now, as we're going to be working on the back part only. we need to trace the line where the zipper is going to be placed. And you don't want your zipper to be exactly in the center because it means you're not going to have much space to access your bag to put things inside it. So I recommend to trace a line maybe 7 centimeters from the top. Because we are using a circle, there's no top and bottom before you trace this line. So it's for you to decide where you're going to cut. The only thing you should keep in mind is that the fabric has a grain line. Grain line is the direction of thread, vertical lines and horizontal lines, which I can see from the woven threads. And it's better if you cut the zip line on one of these vertical or horizontal lines. The reason is because if you put it off the grain line, your fabric is going to stretch easily when you cut it. Trace your line and just make sure you're going to cut both layers the same. So I'm going to place some pins here. Both layers cut exactly with the same shape. So pick which one is going to be outside and which one is going to be used for the lining. In my case, it doesn't really matter because it's the same fabric. If you have different ones, then make sure you take the outer one first, and we're going to be sewing the zipper. So to sew the zipper, you place the back of your bag with the right side facing up. So the right side of the fabric is always the one that you want to be seeing when the bag is finished. If I say right side and wrong side, the wrong side is the part that is not going to be seen after, the inside. So keep the right side up. The zipper as well has a right side and a wrong side. So for my zipper, this is the right side and this is its wrong side. It's okay if your zipper is longer than the length you need, because if it's plastic, we're going to be able to cut it very easily. For now, we don't worry about it. So I want to be sewing at 1 centimeter away from this line here. And I want to have both right sides facing each other. So the right side of the zipper against the right side of the fabric. If you have a doubt when you place your zipper on top of the fabric, just place one pin, which is where we're going to be sewing, and try to imagine when it's finished. See, this is right. All right, now for sewing, I'm actually not going to use the pins this way because I think they are much easier to take out if you place them this way, as they're sticking out, and I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to be able to pull them like this. If you're left-handed, put them like this. So basically what you want is to be sewing as close as possible to the teeth of the zipper here. In my case, I have a foot that has 2 long branches, and that allows me to sew 8 millimeters away from the teeth. So it's not 1 centimeter, but in our case, it's okay. Most machines have larger foot, so if that's your case, you should be able to slide the needle to the side. I'm just gonna follow the teeth of the zipper here with the side of my foot. Every time you sew, you start and end with a backstitch, so the seam is not going to open. Start sewing 3 or 4 stitches and sew back and come back. The slide might be a bit disturbing. So what you can do is lift up the foot of your machine, and you don't need to take it out. You can just slide it to the back. Like this. If you need to take it out, do a back stitch again. Same here, we're doing a back stitch at the end. Back and come back. So now that it's sewn to the bottom parts, I want to be able to cut the zipper. So I should put the slide towards the fabric area. Otherwise, I'm going to cut it away and have to replace it. And this is not very nice to do. So you can cut roughly a little bit more than what you need. And same on the other side. We're going to now attach it to the upper part because we want it like this in the end. So again, we're going to place the right side of the zipper on the right side of the fabric. So this is how it's going to be at the end. So this is what it should be sewn like. And now this is a little bit tricky because you have one part at the top that is smaller than this one. So you want to actually have this angle here matching to the end of the circle here. Place a pin so it doesn't move. And I'm just going to check that I'm going to have the same on the other hand. Yeah, so here as well, this angle is going to match the end of the circle here. So I can put a pin through the layers. Okay, so it's pinned and let's sew it. We're going to proceed exactly the same as before, and the edge of the foot following naturally the edge of the zipper teeth. So do your back stitch. And do a back stitch at the end. So the back outer is now sewn. Be careful not to pull the slide out. I'm just gonna give it a gentle, quick iron. Depending on the zipper, the type of zipper you're using, you don't want it to melt under the heat of the iron. So I'm just gonna pre-fold it with my finger or with my nail and iron. All this extra part is going to be cut later on. Put the slide back towards the middle just in case, so you're not putting it out. So let's take what we just sewn on its back side. Place the lining right side down. This is the right side. I'm flipping it down and bring it to the edge of the zipper here, like this, and place pins. Make sure you align both pieces exactly in the same place. You can put pins on both edges first and then on the rest of the length. So the same way as before, I'm going to start and end with a back stitch, and I also want to follow the teeth of the zipper with the edge of my foot, except that this time it's going to be hidden under the lining, but you can really feel the volume to follow with your foot. Push the slide away. So as you can see, the lining is hiding this seam allowance. It's going to be nice and clean from the inside and from the outside. So we just need to do exactly the same with this upper part here. This is the right side. I'm going to flip it down, align it with the previous one, place some pins, and let's sew. The back is now ready. This is the outside, this is the inside. I'm just gonna iron it so the fabric can stay nice and flat. Now I'm going to sew around the circle to make sure both layers are not going to slide away from each other. If you prefer, you can use some pins and place them all around. I'm going to sew at 5 millimeters from the edge. As you sew, remember that you don't want to be pulling your fabric or pulling it from the back here, because this way you will probably stretch your fabric and your circle is more going to look like an oval. So just let the fabric be. And basically you need to guide it when it enters the sewing area, but it's not your job to push it or pull it, because this is what the machine is already doing by itself. When you arrive on top of the zipper, you just want to be slow. I can stitch on top of the zipper because I have these thin plastic teeth. You may have flatter and larger teeth. In this case, when you sew on top of the zipper, just avoid it with the needle of your machine and stitch right before and right after. So the back is ready. I'm gonna put it on the side for now. I'm gonna take the front parts. I'm just going to align both pieces. Hold them with pins. And same as before, I'm just gonna sew all the way around. So now both discs are ready, the front one and the back one. Place the front and the back against each other, and this is the way they're gonna be on the final bag, so the wrong side on wrong side. And when you place them on top of each other, remember that the zipper is going to be at the top and horizontal, so make sure that your pattern is not off and that you align them nicely. Place some pins. And now we're gonna sew again on top of all layers the circle outside of the bag. It shouldn't be 1 centimeter from the edge, it should be a little bit closer to the edge, like 7 millimeter. Okay, so now cut the zipper that's a bit longer. And now we're gonna do the finishing part, so we need to create the piping and the strap. To know the exact length of piping you need, you're going to measure around this circle, but you don't want to be measuring the outside line because we're going to be sewing at 1 centimeter inside. So you want to measure 1 centimeter inside. For me is 59 centimeter, and we're going to add 2 centimeters of seam allowances, so that's 61. So for the bias, you don't want to use the grain line of the fabric, you want to use the what we call the bias, so it's like this diagonal, which is exactly 45 degrees. So the easiest way of tracing it is starting from the angle. Trace 15 centimeters on the top and 15 centimeters on the side. Now join these two and you have the first line of your bias. And basically from this line, we're just gonna trace parallel lines at 4 centimeters, as many as we need bias. If your fabric is not long enough to make it in one continuous strap, calculate how many straps you need to cut and assemble them together, so as well adding the seam allowance needed. And cut them out. So now we're gonna assemble them together. This is their right sides, and I'm just gonna flip this one on the other one and to assemble them here. Hold them together with a pin. So you wanna have the intersection between the longer angle here, which is underneath, and the shorter angle at the top. So 1 centimeter away from the edge, and we're gonna sew here. Iron it flat from the wrong side. Trim off the angles. I want to measure 61 centimeters out of this bias tape, and I need to remember where I start measuring from. This longer end is where I'm going to start. So 61 is here. I want to assemble my tape in a continuous circle, so it needs to be the same shape. So the longer end comes where I had 61, and basically I'm gonna need to cut following this. If you feel comfortable enough, just take a pair of scissors and cut. I think I'm gonna mark it first and cut, and now assemble them together again, right side on right side, same process as before, 1 centimeter with the intersection. So let's assemble the piping around the bag. The places where you assemble pieces of the bias are going to be thicker. So just make sure they're not aligned with the zipper, which is also a thick area, and avoid to have too many thick layers to sew together. So first of all, I'm just going to put a few pins around the bag. You don't want to be stretching the bias. It might start to feel thick a little bit now. If you cannot go through all the layers, you can just grab actually the first layer, and your pin doesn't have to hold everything as long as it stays in place. So now we're going to stitch at 1 centimeter around. Start in a place where you don't have too many layers, so avoid starting right on the zipper. You don't need to start with a backstitch here because we're going to the backstitch at the end. As you sew, you rotate the circle. Remember, you're not gonna pull or push the fabric. You just need to guide it as slow as you need. Take your time. Where we assemble the bias, just make sure they stay flat and open. So you're coming back in the same position as you started. Do the backstitch and it's done. You end up with something that's really wavy here. Alright, iron it open. You don't want to be ironing the entire surface of the bias. You really just want to mark the fold. So you press with the pointy end of your iron and don't put all the weight on the bias. This is how you're gonna stretch the bias, and it's not gonna look good. The fold is marked and it's quite flat. I'm going to cut the straps now, and the straps are gonna be cut in the grain line, not like the bias we previously cut. 4 centimeter wide, and the length depends on if you want to do it adjustable or not. So for the adjustable strap, you cut one part of 80 centimeter and one part of 20 centimeter. If you don't want to make it adjustable, that's fine. You can just wear your bag always at the same size and cut 1 meter continuous strap. I'd say 1 meter to wear it as a crossbody. If you want to make it longer, just measure on yourself before you cut. So I have both parts of my straps, one of 80 centimeter and one of 20. What I'm gonna do now is fold them in half and mark this fold with the iron. I can put a few pins in the board to hold the fabric folded. You're gonna have the crease really sharply marked here. Flip it on the other side. So I wanna fold both edges towards the center, towards the line that we just did now. You can hold it with pins, and same on the other side, fold it in the center. You end up with your strap like this. We are going to fold one last time on this center fold. Iron strongly. We're going to sew all the way on this open edge, not the other one, although you can for aesthetical reasons if you want to, but I'm just going to sew 1 or 2 millimeters away from this edge here. Unless you have a mark on your machine that tells you where is 1 or 2 millimeters, just try to find a mark you can follow easily. For me, it arrives in the middle of teeth here, and I'm gonna try to follow this as I sew. I'm gonna now place the straps on my bag. I'll be showing you how to do the adjustable one. If you have the 1 meter strap, basically you're gonna follow the same process, except that you will skip the part with the rings. Take your bag on the back side and place the small strap on one side, the 20 centimeter one, or one extremity of your continuous strap, right after the zip, like 1.5 centimeters after the zip. Hold it with a pin. For now, your strap is facing inside the bag. This is totally normal because it will flip later on. So do the same on the other side with the long strap. So you have both straps and place them inside the bag for now. And I'm just gonna fix them with a backward stitch with the sewing machine. Just keep the bias out of your way and make a strong back stitch on top of the strap to 2, maybe 3 or 4 times even. And same on the other side. So the straps are sewn. If you need to trim anything, like if you need to trim a little bit of the straps, do it now. And we're gonna fold the bias back on the back of the bag. So pull the bias here so it's really nice and flat, and roll it between your thumbs. You're going to tuck the edge in as you roll it back. Hold it with a pin and do the same all around the bag. So tuck 1 centimeter in and then fold it flat and hold with a pin. It might be quite thick, but again, you don't need to go through all the layers. You just want this to stay nice and flat. Pull it as much as you can to hide this previous seam that we did before. That's what you want to be covering. It might be a bit more tricky when you have these layers here where we assemble the bias. Just ignore that. Tuck it in and flatten it down. Actually, you will understand now why when we assemble the bias, we assemble them on a diagonal line and not on a straight line. So the thickness is really spread. Sometimes your piping is sewn a little bit more than 1 centimeter to the edge of the bag. In this case, it's going to be hard to cover that seam here. So what you can do is trim a little bit of the edge, just a few millimeters. So to sew this, it's going to be quite delicate because we sew from the back side, but we also want to have a nice line from the front side. So it's very important to follow a perfect circle. So I'm sewing a little bit less than 1 centimeter. Actually, I want my needle to arrive just before the edge of the piping. So find that on your sewing machine and then stick to these points as you sew. Start wherever you want. Don't start in a thick place. Don't do a backstitch at the beginning because remember we will come back here and do it at the end. I might move this video forward a bit, but still remember you're sewing slowly, very slowly. Sometimes what you need to sew is very thick because you have these straps here, the zipper here, all the seam allowance inside, plus the 4 layers of the piping. So this is really a lot of layers. If you feel that your sewing machine is not coping really well with it, just move your wheel manually on the side of your machine instead of pressing with your foot. So you can do a few stitches manually and you move your wheel towards you always. It might make it easier for the machine. Sometimes I like to push the piping away with something pointy, like a scissors or something. The reason is I didn't put enough pins, so. When you do the back stitch at the end, just make sure it's exactly on top of the previous one. You want it to be nice and not so visible, but still strong. Okay, so my piping is done. It looks good from both sides. You can iron it gently from the front side. And the last step, my adjustable cords. Take both of your rings and place them around the short strap, the one that's 20 centimeters. Have a few centimeters here so you're able to fold it back like this and fold it on 1 centimeter, and we're gonna sew this here. So you just want to proceed a strong back stitch. So my piping is done. It looks good from both sides. You can iron it gently from the front side. And the last step, my adjustable cords. Take both of your rings and place them around the short strap, the one that's 20 centimeters. Have a few centimeters here so you're able to fold it back like this and fold it on 1 centimeter, and we're gonna sew this here. So you just want to proceed a strong backstitch 3-4 times, and that's it. Make sure the long one doesn't twirl, and you're gonna slide in both loops towards the shorter side like this, and then you're gonna slide it in, not the first one, you're gonna skip the first one, but slide it in the second one. Help yourself with something pointy to push it in and pull on this end. We're gonna do a little hem, fold twice 1 centimeter like this, and we're gonna sew it with the sewing machine. Same as before, a strong backstitch. Et voilà! Your adjustable buckle is ready, and so is your bag. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any question, just ask me. Also, if you want online sewing classes, check out my Instagram account, Mikan Workshops, where you can see the upcoming events. Bye!